Okay, so we should be live now. Hey everyone, this is John the Pan, and welcome to our first ever YouTube live stream. Very exciting. And in today's live stream, we will be talking about developing for the watch, developing Bixby specifically. And I'll be talking about how to do it and also some best practices. So, a little bit about myself. My name is Jonathan Pan, and I am a developer evangelist for Bixby. I won the 2019 internal hackathon, and I have 4 too many cats. And my colleague who's joining us today, Roger Kibbe.
Hello, everyone. Roger Kibbe. Let's see. I can't see what's on the screen, so I'll go by what I think it said. So, senior developer evangelist, and been with Viv for about a year and a half. And I am a father of 2 teen daughters, and I'm a Cal graduate. So, go Bears. Take it away, Jonathan.
All right, cool. So now for the part that you've been waiting for. How to build for the watch. All you have to do is you add this one line of code to your capsule.bxb into your targets. And that's it. That's the end of the webinar. No, I'm just kidding, of course. But so once you add this target to your capsule.bxb, this will enable you to use the Wot Simulator in the IDE. And also to note about adding this target is that when you submit your capsule to the marketplace, that means that it will now be reviewed as a watch capsule as well. So keep in mind that if your capsule is rejected on the watch side, both the targets, in other words, mobile and watch, will be rejected. So it's not like mobile can go in and it will be live, but both will be rejected if either of the targets get rejected by the review team. So oftentimes, I think currently most people have built something for mobile. Many of you have. And now you're looking into potentially adding it to the watch. And I want to start off this webinar by highlighting one of the biggest differences between mobile and watch. And this will have rippling effects in terms of how you design your capsule for the watch. So we're going to use my capsule that I made, Copycat. Very simple capsule. It just repeats what the user says, and you can change the voice, like use one of the different voices that are built into Bixby. And let's say we ask Bixby, ask Copycat to say, does result view lock-in work? And it will fire off my capsule Copycat, and then it will say, does result view lock-in work? So this here is a result view. And at the bottom of your mobile screen, you'll see this thing which says you're now talking to Copycat. And this little area here indicates a result view lock-in. So when you're locked in to this result view, now let's say you say something else to the capsule like change voice. You notice how you didn't have to use name dispatch, and change voice will be sent to your capsule, or well, to my capsule Copycat. And then, the Copycat capsule will ask you which voice would you like to change to. And also, since this view here is an input view, down here, it still says you're now talking to Copycat, and this indicates an input view lock-in. So although it's not really too clear to the user which view they're locked into, whether it's a result view or an input view, they're aware that they're talking to the capsule Copycat because of this visual indicator down at the bottom. So how is this on the watch? And spoilers, result view lock-in is not supported on the watch. Let's go through the exact same scenario, but on the watch instead. So here we ask Bixby on the watch, ask Copycat to say, does result view lock-in work? Now the capsule will correctly use name dispatch, and Copycat will say, does result view lock-in work? However, if you ask the capsule to change voice, what do you guys expect to happen here? Well, this utterance, change voice, gets dispatched as a top level utterance instead of being locked into your capsule in Copycat. And then, it'll try to change the system voice because, it's not trying to change the voice inside Copycat, it's trying to change the system voice. And it will say something like, I can only speak in this voice on your watch. Okay, so now that we know that, I do also want to point out that input view lock-in does work correctly on the watch. So with Copycat as an example, if you ask Copycat to start, it will greet you with an input view that says, what would you like me to say? And since this is an input view, anything you say to it during this input view will be dispatched to Copycat. For example, does input view lock-in work? And you'll notice that Copycat in this scenario will say, does input view lock-in work? The utterance was sent to the capsule because input view lock-in works for the watch. So now though, this view here is a result view, and further utterances will no longer be sent to Copycat because of the fact that result view lock-in doesn't work for the watch. So how does this affect my capsule? Well, a quick summary of what we just went through is that your capsule will not have result view lock-in. So if your capsule has depended on result view lock-in to continue the conversation, you may have to change some things in your capsule for the watch. And this really emphasizes the point that a result view, once a result view is displayed to the user, that marks the end of the interaction with your capsule. And also knowing that input view lock-in still works, you can try to use input views to continue for lock-in purposes and then to continue the conversation in your capsule. So now let's talk about conversation drivers, which many capsules have. Those are the things that appear on the bottom of your screen that are suggested utterances for the user. And conversation drivers no longer show up at all in result views on the watch. And conversation drivers also only show up in certain input views. So the input views that conversation drivers show up in are any input views without a selection of. So a selection of input view is a list of choices. That's usually, that you can click on one of the choices, and it's not like a text input or a date input. And finally, we're aware that the conversation drivers are currently always displayed in the IDE. We're aware of this discrepancy, and we're looking to address it. So now, knowing all this, how can we manipulate the code to work specifically for the watch? Luckily, there are conditionals for the watch that are very convenient. This conditional, if the $can.device equals Bixby watch in hyphens, this can be used in Bixby land, as I like to call it. And what Bixby land is the views, the result views, the input views, all the modeling, the dialogues, stuff like that. So in other words, it's not the JavaScript. Now in the JavaScript, you can pass in the viv context variable, and you'll have access to the device key, where then you can check to see if that says that it's the Bixby watch. And in this example, let's say if you did need custom logic in the JavaScript, this just console logs, but obviously you can put in your own logic. So now let's talk about some best practices when it comes to working with the watch and working with the layout for your watch. This capsule here is the result view tutorial capsule that I built that shows you various pets and things like that. You'll see here that H boxes are cut off like that. The text is truncated. So knowing what we just learned from the previous slide, you can use a simple if-else to address this layout. And in this case, you can see that if the device is a Bixby watch, to use 2 H boxes, otherwise use the 1 H box that looks fine on the view, or that looks fine on mobile. So what this ends up looking like is like this on the watch. By dividing this 1 H box into 2 H boxes, now the text is no longer truncated, and the user will be able to see the entire, all the information in those H boxes. An alternative is to have a completely different layout depending on your device. And in Bixby Studio, you can create a folder at the same level in the directory as your base folder and name it Bixby-watch. And then you can place a result view or whatever view in that folder, as long as it matches the concepts that you want to display in this case. It will use that view for the watch, whereas all the other devices that might be enabled in your capsule will use the base view. And speaking of views for the watch, here's just some general advice, or here's some general advice for building your views. You'll want to simplify your views for the watch. Some good examples of this actually exist in our Movie Finder sample capsule that's on our GitHub. One of our colleagues made much simpler views for the individual movies, and I can show you guys the URL. And you want to keep scrolling to a minimum on the watch, because users may find it often very cumbersome to keep scrolling and scrolling their watch like that as they use it and as they view stuff in your capsule. Oftentimes as well, images may not look that great on the watch. You want to keep images smaller or less frequent on the watch, which also helps with the scrolling problem. And finally, H boxes on the watch have a maximum of 4 columns. Any more than that, and they're not going to show up. They're only going to show up the 4. Unlike mobile, you can put 8 H boxes, or sorry, 8 V boxes in an H box. So make sure to always check your H boxes to see if they fit on the watch properly. That's one of the main components that does not really translate well when it comes to cross-device compatibility for views. Okay, so the next thing is auto-scroll on the watch. And this is an interesting one because what happens is some views will auto-scroll to the view after or during the TTS. And this may be desirable or undesirable behavior to you as a developer. And fortunately, you do have some control over this. So actually, I can just try and give you guys a live example. Let's see. Here, let me make myself a little bit bigger. There I am. Okay, so I got my watch right here. What's the weather?
It is partly cloudy and 68 degrees right now.
And you'll notice that as it was saying, it was partly cloudy and 60 degrees right now, it scrolled down to the view. So some people like this. Me, myself, I know my colleague Roger really doesn't like it. He's taken many steps to avoid this. But this will also highlight another problem in my Capsule Copycat. Ask Copycat to say, will this scroll down?
Will this scroll down?
And notice how it scrolls down to a blank view after it's done with its TTS. So I will be showing you guys how to address this after the presentation. But to be specific in terms of which views that it auto-scrolls, it will auto-scroll in a result view if it has a dialog and also if it has stuff in the content key. So this key, and I actually foolishly deleted the message, but there could be a dialog file associated with it. But it will scroll down because of this content key, and if something is in that content key, it's going to scroll down to it. Input views will scroll down automatically during or after the TTS if there's a selection of stuff. So in this case, in this input view in Copycat, after it asks you which voice would you like to choose, it will scroll down to all the different voices that you can choose. And it can be a bit jarring because the message at the top, sometimes users don't have enough time to process it as they're trying to read it, right? So, there are options and there are ways to bypass this. Now let's talk about the mic behavior on the watch. Now, you don't really have much control over this as the developer. However, this is still good information for you to know about. For all input views, the mic opens after the TTS and waits a bit for the user's input. So unlike mobile, where with hands-on mode, like if you press the button and stuff, unlike mobile where the mic doesn't open up all the time necessarily automatically, Watch will open up the mic pretty much any time. It's at an input view. So whether you used voice to wake it up, like Hi Bixby, or whether you used the button on the watch, after it's done with the TTS and the input view, it will open up the mic. So it'll be like, which voice would you like me to use? And then it'll open up the mic and start listening to you. However, if the user starts scrolling after the mic opens, the mic will turn off. And this may be a little bit, confusing, but the user can also reopen the mic and by, double pressing the home key, and then they can continue the conversation in that specific input view. So also the user can use, the specific UI elements for the types of input. So I'll give you guys another example with Copycat when it comes to this mic behavior. Let me bring back myself, make myself a little bit bigger. So here we go. Here's the watch. Ask Copycat to change voice.
I can't use other voice style.
Oops. Ask Copycat to change voice.
What would you like me to say?
And here you can see that the mic opened.
Which charming voice would you like me to change to?
And, oops. Well, this wouldn't be a live demo if it went smoothly, but, so there you go. You can see how the mic closed, and now let's say I tap on John's voice.
And here you can see that the mic opened.
And you'll see that I was able to still continue usage with that input view by tapping on, in that case, a selection of. And it also highlights the auto scroll that I mentioned from earlier. During a selection of input view, it auto scrolls down as well. Okay, so some additional points that we'd like to cover is that some examples of things that do work well on the watch. These would include simple request response, like what's the weather? Copycat works pretty well on it. Quizzes and trivia, for example, a chain of input views that in the end give you the end result. Those tend to be pretty decent experiences on the watch. Now, some examples that don't work well on the watch would be stuff that is more reliant on a complex UI, like Movie Agent, which shows you a ton of information on the movie and a ton of pictures and things like that. Chess as well is quite questionable. I know someone made the chess for Bixby, which is pretty cool, but I can imagine it being very difficult to see the chessboard on the watch itself. And I believe it might use result views. I'm not sure about that specific capsule, but you'll want to test your capsule a lot in the simulator, and eventually when on-device is available, you'll want to test it on your device and make sure that you're having a good experience with it on the watch. But you also have to be cognizant of the fact that result view lock-in doesn't work. So when you're testing it, when you hit a result view, you need to be like, okay, now this is the end of my interaction with my capsule, right? So the testing process is a little bit different because when you're testing it, you are siloed into your capsule only. So that means that all utterances are always sent to your capsule. But on production, that's not the case. And once you hit a result view, the utterances will be sent to the top level NL and not directly to your capsule. So do keep that in mind when you're testing your capsule for the watch. Now, you want to consider the watch as mainly a voice-only device, and you'll see that that's kind of the way that Siri treats itself on the watch. It's pretty much just voice-only. And however, you do still have the small screen to make some usage of, like with Copycat, you could see some of the voices and you could choose a voice as well, which is pretty nice. So you really want to focus on using the UI to supplement a voice first experience. And finally, natural categories do not yet work on the watch. They will be coming sometime. And finally, let's talk about some unsupported stuff on the watch and some supported stuff, but with some differences. Unsupported things include video components and result views. You won't be able to put any fancy videos in your watch views. And autocomplete and input views do not work. So if you had like, the autocomplete views that, you can type in like red, and then it would, you guys know what autocomplete is. I don't know why I'm explaining that. And audio player library capsule as well. The watch won't be able to stream audio through the audio player. And finally, the share via library capsule does not work on the watch either. So let's say, you wanted to share something through the watch, you won't be able to, send your best friend a meme you just made. Okay, so that was a lot to take in, and let's actually start by addressing some of the problems that we saw in Copycat that's live today. And if we go into Copycat, so this is the current live version of Copycat that's on the marketplace as well, but except I deleted the target for the watch. But we're going to add that real quick. So this is what you would do. You would go to your capsule.bxb. Actually, I deleted the mobile target, so I'm going to add that back.
Can you zoom in?
Oh yeah, sure. I'll zoom in a bit. Hopefully is that a little better, Roger?
Yeah, and you can move it over and block. They don't need to see me.
Oh no, they should. No, okay. Yeah, I'll bring up the simulator as well. And let's compile this, and let's just run it. Say hello world.
Hello world.
And you'll see that this appears. Now it didn't scroll down, which is interesting because maybe I actually, yes, so this is the original view. I forgot to change this back prior to this webinar, but you'll see that this will scroll down now. And it scrolls down to a blank space. And the reason why that's happening is actually because of this spacer here in the content key. So that's an interesting little bug where, we may not want that scrolling behavior at all. So if we move this spacer in and it doesn't get rendered because of this if conditional, you'll see that it doesn't scroll.
World.
But what if we do say hello world with John's voice?
Hello world.
I still don't necessarily like the way it scrolls down so that it no longer shows what Copycat said to you, and it just shows the voice that you used, right? So to fix that, one way to approach is by creating a separate view file for the watch. So here, as I mentioned earlier, we have the base folder, but we can create a new folder called Bixby Watch. And in this folder, which is at the same level of the base, let's just create a views folder and create a view called output. And I like to add watch to it just so when I'm searching through the files, I know which output view that I'm dealing with. And let's just go ahead and copy and paste this output view over to the watch's output view. Now, the first thing to know is that there are conversation drivers.
Hello world.
And you'll see at the bottom that these conversation drivers appear in the IDE. And, like I said in the presentation, we are aware of this discrepancy, but I'm going to delete them because they won't show up and they won't work anyway. So the next thing that I want to deal with is, do I want it to scroll? And in this case, I don't. So to do that, we can have an empty message here. And instead, just rely on the speech key to say what we needed to say. So now there's no message at all. And if we run it,
hello world.
Oh, well, probably gotta.
Hello world.
Now it doesn't show the message at all to the user. It just shows the now speaking John part of it. And this also isn't quite what we need. So let's go ahead and adjust that a bit. So we always want to show the output.text to the user in the watch. So I'm going to get rid of that if conditional. And we don't always want to show, this voice part, only if the voice exists. So now, if we run this,
Hello world.
we'll see that it says, hello world, now speaking John. However, the icon doesn't show up anymore. And this is because the icon lives in the dialogue portion of the view. So without the dialogue portion of the view, your icon no longer shows up. Now, me personally, this is a design choice for you to decide if you go this route of bypassing the scroll. But I like my icon being there for brand reinforcement, whatever, right? Just so, it's makes the user feel like that they're talking to my capsule. So I'm going to add the icon as well as a single line, image, URL. And oops, we're going to make this, I believe the path is /images/cat-icon.png. I'm going to add a spacer as well to give it a little bit of space between it and the text. Oh, unknown error. Okay, well, let's try that again.
Hello world.
There we go. So now it shows my icon, it shows what is said to the user, which is hello world. And finally, it showed that the person speaking is John. And I'm pretty happy with this view for Copycat. Copycat's a very simple capsule, but you can see how now we are going to this view file in the Bixby-watch. And just to confirm, I should have showed you guys this as well, but in order to get to the Wot Simulator, click on this thing, and then you can choose between the different targets you have. So let's actually switch over to mobile just to confirm that we're still using the previous view.
Hello world.
Which we are. This is still in the dialogue, and this is in the result view, which is what we want. And for the watch, we took this approach.
Hello world.
To remove the auto scroll and to just keep all the information on one screen for the user. So that's one way if you want to bypass the auto scroll in a result view specifically. But let's talk about another problem with Copycat that exists on the watch. When we say hello world, if you're on mobile, you'll know that you have the ability to change voices because of the conversation driver. So let's go and take a look at it.
Hello world.
You'll see that here there's change voice. It's very clear that I can say change voice.
Which charming voice would you like me to change to?
And then I can change to someone else's voice.
Hello world.
So on watch, however, because that's a result view,
hello world,
the end user may not know that you can even change voice. And even if they did know, if they said change voice here, it would not go to the capsule copycat. It would go to a top level utterance. So this is kind of a design choice, right? But you can make it prompt for a voice every single time with the Bixby land conditional that I talked about. So default init we can use in the modeling portion, the copycat.model, and we can check to see if the device is the Bixby watch. And if it is, then we will always run the get voices. When get voices in my capsule copycat will prompt the user for a voice to choose to use with it. So let's go ahead and try it now on the watch.
Which charming voice would you like me to use?
So now it has the input hello world, right, which is this one right here. And now it's asking me to select a voice.
Hello world.
And you'll see that it's now asking me for the voice every single time. Now this could be annoying to the user, so it's kind of up to you to decide whether you want to take a different modeling path like this to prompt for more inputs from the user. But I really just wanted to highlight that you have this option to do it. Okay, cool. Now I wanted to also show you how you can fix a view with that conditional as well. So let's use the pet view that I had from the PowerPoint, which is just show me some pets.
Here are 7 adorable pets.
And this is what it looks like on mobile.
Meet Moxie. Moxie works very hard every day to become Instagram famous. Shameless plug, at moxie.the.calico.
Okay, and you can see here that this uses an H box with 4 columns in it. However, let's see how it looks on the watch. Spoilers, it's going to be truncated. And I guess I can enable TTS again.
This is Moxie. Moxie works very hard every day to become Instagram famous. Shameless plug at moxie.the.calendar.
And the first thing you'll notice is that all this stuff is horribly truncated and people can't really tell what they're looking at. So let's go ahead and take a look at the view file. We can see that when pet equals 1, we're using the macro pet-details. And just to show you, in case you didn't know, you can actually search for all the files with Command P. So pet details, there it is, pet details layout. And this first H box is for the ratings, and we can see how this is fine. Wait, is it for the rating? No, it's for this line right here, Moxie, and she's a cat. So we want to address this H box, which has the height, weight, age, gender. And we can do this with also the simple if-else in Bixby land. So $can.device equals quote Bixby watch end quote. And they do need to be the single quotes. So now, and let's also put this else, and we will wrap the original H box with the 4 things in it with this else right here. And there we go. So this one lives in the else. So now mobile will still use this H box, but we want to have a different type of H box set up for this. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this entire H box into the watch as well. But now I'm going to cut these 2 V boxes inside of it. Let's Command X and put them inside a new H box, just like that. Let's save that. Hopefully nothing exploded. And when we go to Moxie's page, we will see that we spot fixed this problem H box with this simple if else. So there's a few different ways that you can use these conditionals as well as an entirely separate view file to address these potential concerns that you have with your capsule on the watch. So yeah, actually, I think I went through this faster than I anticipated. So let's bring Roger up here. There he is. And let's make sure.
All right. Great job, Jonathan.
Thank you.
So we have a couple questions that have come, and keep on asking the questions in the YouTube live chat. But the first 2, we got a couple questions about the audio player and when is the audio player coming to the watch?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think we have a timeline for that. So unless, Roger, you may know of a better timeline than I do.
Don't have a timeline, but there's a lot of people asking for it. And I know we're working on making that happen. So it is definitely coming to the watch because I think, to my mind, the audio player in the watch would be pretty awesome. Go for a jog, listen to a podcast. I see Armel's on there. Go on a jog and listen to a short cast on Trouble FM, etc. So definitely a good use case for the watch, and it'll be coming. So we'll let you know as soon as possible,
Right.
Which is a good chance for me to say that if you're not following us on Bixby Developers on Twitter, please do, because that is where you will always get the most up-to-date information.
And I did forget to mention, be sure to register at the Eventbrite link that Roger posted in the chat. That will give you the chances of winning the watch. And let's see, the next question from Fred Zimmerman. So no conversation drivers. And Roger, you want to take this one?
Oh, no. Yeah. So I think we went over that actually in the presentation. So the only conversation drivers that show up are in input views and not after a selection of. In other words, a selection of is usually a list, right? So, keep your input, your conversation drivers simple. I'm gonna spend a little bit of time talking about Jonathan and I see the watch a little bit philosophically different, which I think is natural and normal. To my mind, when you're building the watch, you should build a voice first experience and make the voice stuff all work as if you didn't have a UI at all. And then add UI elements that kind of enhance it. So I don't really like the auto scroll. I really dumb down the UI and make it as simple as possible. I think it's definitely a design decision. But with that small screen, to my mind, you should focus on a voice-only experience, and then think about how this screen could augment it. And that's really, really different compared to how you've been doing mobile development on Bixby, where there's this giant phone screen and you can use it. Although if you've been paying attention to Hands and Eyes Free, we always tell you if in HEF mode, you should build a voice-only experience as well. So just something to think about the watch. I think there's a lot of interesting things to think about designing for a voice device with a very small screen. To my knowledge, our competition on watches has no UI. It's just text only. So we've added the UI capabilities there, which add something interesting, but also challenging from a VUI and UI design element perspective. Let's see. Next question. How do I get the watch to repeat an action? E.g., give me another quotation. Do I have to repeat the initial utterance?
So this one's a little tricky because follow-ups and result views don't work, and result view lock-in also doesn't work. So what this means is that you would actually have to chain a sequence of input views where it would be one input view, the first input, or your capsule starts and it gives you a quote, right? Then it actually shows the quote in an input view, and then it asks you, would you like another quote, right? So if you say yes, then it'll take you to another input view where it gives you the quote and it asks you the same question, would you like another quote? But when you say no, it takes you to a result view and ends that interaction with the user. So you do actually have to change the modeling a bit and also, deliver the quotes in input views for the watch, assuming that you had result views to deliver your quotes. So that's how I would approach it. But like with anything, there's probably other ways, other solutions, but off the top of my head, that's what I would do.
Yeah, I was going to add that if you look at the on GitHub, our quiz capsule, that's exactly how the quiz capsule works. It leaves you in an input view. So you think about a quiz, you ask a question and then you answer it, and then it asks you another question. If you look at the quiz code, it basically leaves you in an input view until you are actually finished with the quiz, and then it goes to result view. And it does this little flag that's true or false, or whether to exit the input view. So I would use that. If you haven't used that design pattern before, definitely look at the quiz template on GitHub, and that will give you an idea of how to use that design pattern. I will say that our testing of the watch is a lot of people on the watch want to ask one question and then be done. And just kind of follow on. I'll stay locked into my capsule and have them continue to interact with it, unless it was kind of a drill down. Okay, here's your options now. Drill down and get them finer and finer till you find your best option. That makes sense in the watch, but more things around like, do you want to play again? Do you want another quote, etc.? People didn't generally like that in a watch. They wanted it to be really quick, get some information, and get out with the watch, which is a little bit different than how they use the phone. Like I said, I think the watch is new, and I think there's a lot of discovery of how people behave and use it. All right. Next question is, can I test my capsules on a real watch?
And the answer to that is not yet, but on-device testing is coming soon. So Unfortunately, we don't have an exact date for you, but it is coming soon. And
I'll be more bold and say real soon.
okay, real soon. All right.
All right. Are there any differences with the submission and review process? Excuse me. Are there any differences with the submission and review process when it comes to the watch?
So, I don't. Okay, if a capsule relies too heavily on result view lock-in to deliver a good user experience, the review team may reject your capsule for the watch based on that. And I've actually seen many capsules get rejected because of that. Just take, one capsule off the top of my head that wouldn't function at all because it's entirely reliant on result view lock-in is the pretty awesome capsule Escape the Room. Right. So Escape the Room is entirely chains of result view lock-ins, and there's no way you could ever escape the room on the watch because of that, right? He'd have to convert it all to input views for it to work properly. So, if the experience of the watch is basically non-functional because of lack of result view lock-in, then it will get rejected because of that. And that would be a big difference between the mobile review process and the watch review process.
Yeah, I guess I think the other thing to add is to expand a little bit what Jonathan said. Think about if your conversation drivers on your result views are necessary, then it's not going to work in a watch. But oftentimes, I have some capsules that are games, for instance, do you want to play again? And so I had a capsule that basically play a game, and at the end it says, do you want to play again? And then it has in that case, it's a follow-up, not a conversation driver, but really same behavior. It actually doesn't work after that because there's no lock-in on the watch. All I had to do, though, I left that code in there because it doesn't hurt. But what I did is change my dialogue, and I don't no longer say, do you want to play again on the watch? So it's just a little if you're not a watch, do you want to play again? If you're a watch, just omit that part of your dialogue. And you certainly could do things like that in dialogue macros if you want to if your dialogue is pretty sophisticated. I'd refactor it out in the dialogue macros, which is a good practice anyway. When you think about altering your dialogue, depending upon whether the user is on a watch or a phone, that makes a dialogue macro even more attractive as something to use. All right.
So
can I access watch-specific sensors like pulse rate?
No. As of today, you cannot. And are there pros or cons of having a watch with a SIM card? You need the watch to be paired to some device for it to be able to use Bixby, at least the marketplace. Am I correct with that, Roger?
Oh, I have.
Yeah, because
I don't think you can actually set up the watch. I have a watch.
June 16th.
But I don't think you can set up the watch without being paired to a device. So
right.
It doesn't work because the device.
Okay.
There's an app, Galaxy Wearable, I think it's called, that you do some of the configuration on the watch. I mean, the LG will, if you're away from it and you try Bixby, most things should definitely work. But then if you notice back in Jonathan's example, he used the example of punch outs. And I think he said that worked, but differently because it pops up if you do a punch out, it pops up the web browser on your actual phone. So that wouldn't, I don't know what would happen with LTE. I'll be honest, I haven't tested my watch a lot with not paired to my phone and remote with just LTE and Bixby. So we'll let you guys know if there's anything else different there. But yeah, I mean, to my mind, the reason LTE, it's not about Bixby. It's if I wanted to go exercising for a walk and I don't want to take my phone, I can just walk around with my watch. I can make phone calls. I can text. I can use Bixby. I can do basic things without a big phone in my pocket. So that's why I want an LTE watch.
So I want to acknowledge what Fred Zimmerman said because it also brings up an interesting point. So when you said interesting, because I spent a lot of time poking my watch, result views, if you're at a result view, on clicks still work. And like, let's say you have a result view and then you click on play again button or give me another quote, whatever, right? That will actually work perfectly on the watch. And another interesting workaround to the lack of result view lock-in is to use refreshes. So if you guys have a watch or a Bixby device and Bixby, whatever, right? You can try my Capsule Quizit Trivia. Quizit Trivia uses refreshes and it alternates between input views and result views. So the way it works, input view, question 1, I don't know, what's the capital of country, right? And then you answer. Then it shows you your result in a result view. Did you get the question right? How much time did you spend? Blah, blah, blah. But it refreshes. There's a refresh in that result view that changes it to the next question, which is an input view. So you can actually bounce back and forth between input views and result views with refreshes. And you can also use on clicks if you want to, but and those will still work. So it's just an interesting design pattern to consider. And yeah, so I guess the next question, right? Which models of watch support the new Bixby?
Which models, you got it. Go ahead. Which models of watch support the new Bixby? Which is the cheapest?
Sure. So I don't know which one's the cheapest, but I do know that the Galaxy, the one that I have, and the Active 2 definitely support Bixby with the marketplace. I personally am not sure about the other models of the watch and whether they support Bixby 2.0 yet. I know Samsung, they like to roll these updates out at different times for different devices. So you'll have to check.
I think it's a great question.
Yeah.
We'll post the answer to that on Bixby Developers Twitter sometime later today with the exact models that support the watch. So sorry, don't have that off the top of my head. So there's a big question. I'll go ahead and answer this. It's talking about the marketplace not available in our region. Is there a workaround to access it without a VPN? And then, to be able to see the marketplace and to understand what others are built and make sure your dispatch name is available. Yeah, I mean, there is a way to do it, but it does require use of a VPN. It's a multi-step process. I think we have that documented, but I'll tell you what, I will post that also to our Twitter account, a link to what that is. But I will tell you, you have to basically, what you do is you reset, in a nutshell, you reset Bixby and then you provision it while your VPN are connected to the US, and then it shows you the Bixby US marketplace. But unfortunately, there's not a way outside of US and Korea and supported marketplaces to see it yet. Okay. There's a couple questions about the Galaxy S3 or Gear S3, saying, oh yes, it supports it. Can we test from the lab? I don't know what lab you're meaning, so maybe you can give me some more information about that. Does Samsung Watch connect to an iPhone? Can I still use Bixby? Yeah, so it definitely connects to an iPhone. I'm a dual OS family because I have teenage daughters, and I'm never gonna, even though after I joined Samsung, I'm never gonna take the iPhone out of their hands. And I have tried, so I have both phones, and I've tried pairing it to an iPhone. It actually works pretty well, right? You lose a bit of functionality. Bixby should work fine, although those things, like I said, that starting to watch and open up on the phone, I don't know. Really, really good question about the nuances of Bixby on a watch paired to the iPhone. I don't have exact answers for you. I'm going to guess that most things work, but obviously things that say like that punch out and then goes to the iPhone, I'm guessing I might be a little surprised that works because the watches say, go look at your phone, but maybe it does. I'll have to get some more information for you.
All right. So should we do the raffle now? I think
yeah, let's see. Well, let's give people, is there any more? I don't see any other questions there. give you guys any last minute questions. Otherwise, we will we'll do the raffle.
Okay, so there were 69 registered users, and let's ask Bixby. Pick a number between 1 and 69.
Running some quick calculations. Drum roll, please. Your number is 6.
All right, let's see who number 6 was. 1, 2, we have 6. That is Andrew Wynn. Congratulations, Andrew Wynn. If you're in this stream right now, we will be contacting you, and you will reach out to you. We have your email, and we'll send you instructions on what we need from you, and we'll send you that watch. Awesome. Usually David likes to give away these watches, but I guess I'm doing it today. So yeah.
Hey, Jonathan, do you have at the end of the presentation, do you want to, for people who are want to continue following us or have additional questions, do you have those slides that show
Yes. So here, our YouTube channel, the subscriber count and stuff is a bit outdated because these slides are old. But YouTube, be sure to subscribe. That would be great if you aren't already subscribed. And our social media, go to, check us out on Twitter at Bixby Developers. You'll see this is from back when we had 124 followers, so the count was just made. But also at Facebook, facebook.com/Bixby Developers. Be sure to follow us there. My contact information, mine is twitter.com/John without the H. And we'll be posting this stream as well on our YouTube channel. So in case, you wanted to reference it or whatever, we'll be editing it and throwing it onto our YouTube channel. And that's my LinkedIn. Unfortunately, I don't have Roger's here.
Oh, that's okay. It's at Roger. So on Twitter, at Roger Kibbe.
Yeah.
At RogerKibbe. Or you can just find me on LinkedIn. But yeah, would love to keep the conversation going. The watch is brand new, and as you saw, some things work, some things partially work, and some things don't work. And I think that's by design. We wanted to get it out and get people building on it and figure out what really are the high priority things to do for the watch, and how what an amazing voice and Bixby experience on the watch is. So please, as you're using it and developing it and testing it, share your ideas and thoughts and feedback. Certainly can contact us on those social media channels. And if you have an idea, you're like, I really want this to work in the watch and it's not, then if you go to bixbydevelopers.com and you can create what is it called, a user request. I'm forgetting the terminology. But you can actually create a request to say, I'd like this feature, and then other users can go and find that and upvote those features. So looking forward really to what people build on the watch. I think it's a unique medium that will, bring out some creativity and new ways to think about voice.
Yeah, and also let us know what you think about this format of streaming as well, right? This is our first time doing it on YouTube Live. If you guys prefer Google Hangouts or Zoom, let us know. Although I don't think we can use Zoom anymore, right, Roger? I'm not sure about that.
Anyway.
So yeah, just let us know any feedback you have, whatever. And I really appreciate you guys coming out and joining us at our stream today. It's it means a lot to us. So thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoy it. And this recording will be up on YouTube, and we got a couple links to put up on our Twitter account of some really great questions. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for joining.